To me, one of the central core things that hold me to the Christian viewpoint, other than a Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, secular humanist viewpoint, is actually the resurrection. To me, that is like a big linchpin of why I believe certain things. And if you don't have the resurrection of Jesus, this man who died and rose again, then I think we've lost it. So I'd be happy to relinquish it. And let me just give you like one simple example of why is, during the time of Jesus, there were a lot of messiahs, and they all died. And so people claim to be Messiah. And when you're a Messiah, you're supposed to do three things. You're supposed to bring peace, you're supposed to bring justice, and you're supposed to restore the temple, to make it like Solomon's temple where you can hang out with God again. And every Messiah who claimed to be Messiah would fight Rome, would try to kill Rome and destroy Rome and take over, and then would try to actually set the temple right. So King Herod actually kind of took care of the temple and built this beautiful temple. He had peace with the Romans, but he did not wipe them out. So he had 2 out of the 3 going, and he wanted to be Messiah. So Jesus, he claimed to be Messiah. And what I found really amazing is that after he died, people still thought he was Messiah when he didn't do any of the 3 things you're supposed to do as Messiah. He did none of them. That's just a really dumb argument to say, you did it. Well, he didn't do anything, dude, and why do you call him the Messiah if he's dead? So, a lot of these little nuggets, as an example, have pushed me to think that just to take the resurrection more seriously. Is it really true? And historically, what are the frameworks to think of it? So, if there's a way that I can be persuaded to think about the resurrection and say, listen, it's not as great as you think it is because of these other pieces, then I'd be happy. Then I think, the thing I'm standing on goes away.
Okay. Thanks.
I don't know about being convinced of a particular worldview, but I do think I could be convinced to be a theist of some type. Elliot Sober, as a philosopher of science, makes a throwaway remark at one point in a paper saying that there could never be any empirical evidence for or against the existence of God. And I just think that's wrong, right? If a flaming asteroid comes towards the planet and a face comes out and says, I am your creator speaking through this large flaming mass, and right now I will disintegrate violating all of the laws of physics, right? And, I'd say to myself, yeah, it's time to pick up the book, right? But I know it's a silly example, but I just want to point out that I think there are actually all sorts of there are things that we can imagine that would change our opinions if we just think hard enough about the type of evidence in question. I think one of the things that truthfully would convince me, but it's also something of which I'm pretty ignorant, is actually understanding more of the actual historical data involving biblical claims, what types of archaeological evidence does and does not exist, what types of other the relationship between the Bible and other texts, right? And whether or not there are coherence arguments that one could be make for the truth of particular claims in there. I think that would be convincing to me that would be the type of thing that I would look for if I wanted to have greater faith in a particular historical document. To be convinced of some supernatural deity or another, I can imagine all sorts of weird things happening that will bring me to the theist. But I don't see them in the same way I don't see, for instance, a sunrise as evidence of God in the same way that some people do.
Yeah.
Right? It would take something more than that
Totally.
for me.
Totally.
Okay.